And it makes sense. If soil ecology is the major current carbon sequestration location, and if we're rapidly releasing most of the stored carbon in the lithosphere due to the extraction and burning of fossil fuels, then landscape change is the ultimate predictor of and evidence for climate change. And this is because the only system capable of rapidly reclaiming all that carbon in a fixed form is the soil, given that the oceans, which normally are capable of absorbing the lion's share of carbon dioxide, are already acidifying, which creates a runaway feedback loop that dissolves shells and coral and limestone, releasing ever more carbon back into the water and the atmosphere. And if we're paving over all that formerly soil-rich land from sea to shining sea, and if we're transforming what's left to grow plants into factory farms that are basically dirt saturated with chemical salts and biocides, and desertifying the rest, there's no reasonable way to draw that carbon down fast enough to prevent catastrophic warming over 2 degrees centigrade. Right now, as they remind us in thesoilstory.com, quote, soil degradation poses a threat to more than 40% of the Earth's land surfaces, end quote. And these are just the ones that still have soil on them. So this is where urban ecology comes in. You see, if we can conceive of our cities and suburbs as a mere lifting of the lithosphere, of rocks and dirt and other inert materials paved over and moved up in the z-axis, then there's no reason besides politics, tradition, or ignorance that we can't soil over the man-made surfaces we've created. Every roof and building, and yes, every parking lot, could become a paradise of carbon-sequestering soil and associated vegetation and either crops or wildlife. Can you envision it? The problem isn't really the presence of humans, is it? It's more the presence of tar and shingle and concrete over what was once soil. And the wonderful thing about cities is that we've already created the infrastructure to irrigate and bring water and moisture and nutrients to the process of creating an urban soil and food production ecology. You see, the water pipes are all there in the city. The sprinkling systems are all there. Hell, as I witnessed in Cairo 15 years ago, even air conditioners can be used to condense water out of thin air and irrigate rooftop gardens. All air conditioners are doing it all the time, making liquid water out of the atmosphere. But the water is almost never put to productive use. Also, buildings actually can be used to increase the amount of useful solar energy available, to increase the amount of arable land surface rather than degrading it. You see, when you grow on flat ground in the North Temperate Zone, where the sun's rays come in at an angle, for North America and Europe, we're talking about roughly 25 to 65 degrees north latitude, a substantial amount of sunlight is just reflected away from the crop. As anybody who's played with solar panels knows, the best angle for energy production is when the sun's rays are perpendicular to the surface. If I rotate the panel, you get reflection, see?